Hello everyone, and welcome to part 9 of my painting on Pantone postcard series. So far I have done 30 paintings and I have a lot more to go to get to all 100. Here are the colors I have left to choose from, so let's pick some colors and get right into it. I already had a theme for today's postcards in mind thanks to my husband, which I will reveal at the end of the video, but for now I am picking colors solely based on those ideas that I already have in my head that will help me create the perfect pictures to execute my theme. So I picked this green, this faded denim, this dark forest color, and this blue color. So here's what I have to work with. The first thing I'm doing is taping off every single one of them to keep them clean and crisp, and then I'm also going to go in once they're all taped and put on some clear Mod Podge. This is just clear matte Mod Podge, which will help me have a smooth, flat surface to paint on. Otherwise, the paint does not stick to these postcards, and you'll have to do like a million layers. So thank you so much to you guys for pointing this tip out to me because it has changed the game. So now I can finally bring the paints in, and we can get started on the postcards. These paintbrushes don't want to be a part of it. But then I'm bringing in the primary colors first, and for this first postcard, I'm starting off by blending yellow into red, and then blue into yellow, and then more red added to the blue to create a rainbow. And once I've had my rainbow done, it's pretty faded, but that's kind of how I want it. I'm adding in some clouds, and my goal for these clouds and for the rainbow is to make them look kind of blurry because I want them out of focus compared to what I'm going to add to the painting later. To make them look blurry, I just took a dry brush of the same color, which is just a brush with very little paint on it, and then went around the outsides to make them look kind of fuzzy. And now I can go in and add those details in that I was talking about earlier. So I want this to look like it was through a window or through glass of some sort. So I'm going to add rain droplets and water droplets on the front of the painting. So this is going to be like the foreground, and what we created before is going to be the background. So to do this, I added in a whole bunch of black circles, and now I'm going in with white paint to add highlights into those black circles to make them look reflective and to make them look like they're little water droplets sitting on top of the surface that we're looking through. And I thought this was such a cool effect. I've never done this technique before, and after I completed it, I feel like the rainbow should be a little more out of focus, so I just went in with more dry brushing and added colors to the ends to make it look a little more fuzzy. And here's how it turned out, and I'm obsessed with that. But now it's time to move on to the next Pantone postcard painting. So for this one, I'm going in with different shades of green and kind of using the translucency of the paint to my advantage by adding in different shades of green on top of one another. I'm trying to create a layered effect while also letting the original color of the postcard show through too. So I'm building up colors very gradually, one, to help the effect, and two, because the paints are thin, so I kind of have to do it this way. But once I'd gotten a base layer down of everything, now I could go in and add a little more detail, which looked like adding shadows and adding highlights, because once I added highlights to everything, I realized I couldn't really get it brighter anymore with the greens I was wanting to use. So if you can't get things brighter, it's better to make other things darker that you can. So that's what I did, and now I'm going in and adding even more detail to really make these look like leaves. The details will take these blobs to looking like leaves. So that's my goal with this. I took a really light green and added in some different details to make the leaves look like they had texture, and then after that I took a darker green to add even more leaves around the side and to build up value in other leaves that weren't as bright and weren't as in focus, but still needed some more life brought to them as well. And then I blended all of those colors together, and here is how this card turned out. I think it is so cool, and I love the detail in it. So now it is time for the next card of the day, which I am starting with this yellow color to kind of just map out my design. And so I'm starting off and I'm trying to draw fire. So I'm just creating a baseboard on top of this dark postcard. That way I don't need as many layers of colors later. I'm just starting off creating a little outline for me to follow, and fire is really hard to draw because it's not a solid, it's very loose, but at the same time it has very sharp edges and is very specific and detailed in the way that it is shaped. I decided to add in some blue to the top of the card just to add a little bit more value, and some black at the bottom to make it look like there was possibly some scenery around this campfire. And after I did that, it was time time to actually start working on the color in the fire, which is very hard to get right because fire is orange, but it's not just orange. It's got a lot of different shades and colors and values in it that are very hard to get right. And again, it's also very sharp and fluid at the same time, which is a very hard thing to capture. But I tried my best and I added in some orange on the logs as well to make it look like the fire was reflecting, and this was my favorite part. I added sparks from the fire all around it, and I thought this was so cool and really made the fire look like a fire. And then I added even more light to the logs, again to add in reflection from the fire to the logs to kind of make it look like the wood was burning too. I'm not gonna lie, this design really challenged me. Fire is a really hard thing to draw. Like I said, it's fuzzy, but it's also sharp. So I'm trying now to go in with those sharper details and really make it look like the fire has some sharp edges and twists to it. So I'm adding in some bright yellows, some warm oranges, and even a little touch of red to really warm up some of the places that need it. And then it kind of started coming to life, and I was liking it a lot more now that it had some more defined edges in it. I added even more highlights to those logs to really make them look like that they were also part of the fire pit. And then I was about completed with this. I touched up a couple of things, and then I went ahead in and added even more dark spots to really make the fire pop, because if you add dark, then the lighter colors will be even brighter. And then I decided to end it all with a couple of stars, made them look fuzzy again with that same technique as before, added some fuzz around the fire as well, and then this one was complete too, and I am very impressed with it. Fire is very hard to draw. And now it is time for the last card of the day, and this one was by far the easiest design, but it was still challenging because it was a lot of lines, and lines are very hard to get smooth with paint. You have to make sure your paint is the right consistency. It needs to be watered down enough that it can be fluid, but also not so watered down that it's going to leave water spots everywhere. So I was trying to really balance it out, and I'm creating a feather here. I hope you could tell at this point what it was, and I'm just trying to make it look very loose. I'm adding in a couple of more dark spots, and then it was completed. So I love the feather too. It's different but very simple. Here are all 4 cards side by side, and now it's time to take the tape off with these satisfying tape peels. This is my favorite part, when you can really see how clean and crisp your designs are, and it comes to life and looks like a finished piece without that tape there. So here they all are, and here is my theme for the video. We have water, earth, fire, and air. So I was trying to do all 4 elements for my video. So here is the water one up close again, complete with these perfect little rain droplets that are just such a cool effect. Next up we have earth. For this I did leaves, and I think these are really detailed and super neat. Next up we have fire, which was really challenging due to the nature of fire, which is very hard to capture. And finally we have air, which was a feather to represent it, and this was very hard to draw in a different kind of way than the other ones. But here they all are. Let me know which one turned out to be your favorite. I don't think I can choose one this time actually, but I'd love to know if you have one, and let me know if you guessed the theme of this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!